Hey guys, an emergency edition of Brown's Thoughts here on the Off the Mic Sports Network. Myles Garrett has officially and formally asked to be traded. This has been rumored for a while, but here was his official statement that he released. It says, quote, "As a kid dreaming of the NFL, all I focused on was the ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl. And that goal fuels me today more than ever. My love for the community of Northeast Ohio and the incredible fan base of the Cleveland Browns has made this one of the toughest decisions of my life. These past 8 years have shaped me into the man I am today. While I love calling the city my home, my desire to win and compete on the biggest stages won't allow me to be complacent. The goal was never to go from Cleveland to Canton. It has always been to compete for and win a Super Bowl. With that in mind, I have requested to be traded from the Cleveland Browns." Signed, Myles Garrett, and close quote. So let's just, big picture this first of all and how this is going to look. The Browns maintain that they're not going to trade him. Let's call it as end it. Just rip the Band-Aid off. You're not going to have a standoff with this guy. End it. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. I'm going to talk about who's really the culprit of this thing in a separate video because I feel like this deserves its own topic because of just how disappointing the situation is. In the fact that 4 years ago, this team won their first playoff game in 2+ decades and looked primed to make a real push. And then Baker Mayfield got hurt. That year got lost. And, 22, they get into the Deshaun Watson business. They get to the playoffs last year, lose in the playoffs, and now they bottom out at 3-14. And their best player, maybe the greatest Brown of the modern time, now wants out. And the big note here was where he said in this note, the goal was never to go from Cleveland to Canton. Andrew Berry literally a month ago said we want him to go from Cleveland to Canton. If that isn't as big of an indictment on your general manager, I don't know what is. That is blatantly mocking the GM of the Cleveland Browns and that he's fed up with this crap. And I do not blame Myles Garrett one iota. Andrew Berry's key picks have missed. He's hit on a couple of trades, but it hasn't worked. And I maintained that if anybody was going to take the fall for the 3-14 season, it should have been Andrew Berry. Do they change course now after seeing their GM get embarrassed? Does Jimmy Haslam get trigger happy and fire his general manager now? Maybe. It's Jimmy Haslam. Nothing's off the table. But at the same time, I don't know what good that does you. Because then who's going to want this job? Who's going to want this job? You got decent pieces on the roster, but then if you fire Andrew Berry now and then you bring another general manager and you've got a disgruntled defensive end that still wants to get traded, one of the best defensive players in the league at 29 years of age, just trade him. Just trade him. I've said it multiple times on this channel when nobody wanted to hear it. The Browns have got to trade Myles Garrett. The fact that he got out in front of this does not help them at all. They'll still get a decent chunk of change. They won't, I just hope they don't pull a Nico Harrison. Sorry, Mavs fans. Sorry, Andrew. Sorry, Danny. I just hope they don't pull a Nico Harrison here. And if I'm the Browns, I don't know if I want Andrew Berry making that decision, to be honest with you. Because, yeah, he's made a couple of decent trades for wide receivers, but it's like, this is Myles Garrett we're talking about here. But there's no reason to have a fucking standoff here with Myles Garrett, a guy who's given his life to this organization through a bunch of bad seasons for 8 years. And for him to ask for a trade, I don't blame him. This guy has literally killed himself for this team for so many years. And because of a decision that they made, and like I said, I will get more knee deep into who the real culprit of this whole thing is in another video set to come out here on the channel later today. But it's just, how did we get here, man? Literally in the playoffs, a calendar year ago, literally in the playoffs, and they lost. Won 11 games. 11 games. You won a playoff game 4 years ago almost to the day. And now here you are sitting with the number 2 pick in the draft, 3-14. If anybody's going to take the fall, it's going to be Andrew Berry. Kevin Stefanski has earned his way to keeping his job. And frankly, he should have a role in potentially picking the general manager, but there's clearly an issue in the front office. Also, Paul Podesta needs to get the fuck out of there too, because that's another part of this that's really stupid. But if you're Myles Garrett, you've got to look out for yourself. And yeah, would I have liked it for him to not make this public? Sure. He's earned the right to do whatever the fuck he wants. Former Defensive Player of the Year. He's a finalist for it this year. He won't win it, but and then he inserts the Cleveland Canton line. You don't think that that wasn't by design? All these murmurings that this was going to work out. It's like, no, it wasn't. You just went 3-14 after a playoff season. Your quarterback situation sucked, and you're cap strapped to the point where when Myles Garrett needs to get paid again, you won't be able to pay him. So I totally understand this. If you're one of these people who's like Aaron Goldhammer and some of these local media personalities who are blaming Myles Garrett, saying that he's selfish, fuck you. Seriously. Don't even go back to that incident with the helmet back in 2019. That feels like a lifetime ago. Myles Garrett really grew up. He's a part owner of the Cavs. He's really been a leader for this franchise, stood by a lot of some of the terrible decisions that this organization has made, even stood by Deshaun Watson, which takes a lot, and helped lead this. And in addition to winning Defensive Player of the Year last year, he helped lead this team to the playoffs again. But now he wants out of there. It's a reflection of where this organization is. 8 years, it doesn't work. And he knows that he can't win a Super Bowl here. I could have told you that. Guys, look who's in this look who's in the AFC. The Browns ain't getting to a Super Bowl. They're going to be lucky to get to the playoffs anymore because of how competitive the AFC is. So that's it for this edition of Browns Thoughts. We'll have more on this situation as we head towards the Super Bowl. But man, just a gut punch to Cleveland as Myles Garrett has asked to be traded. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.